Hey, folks, and welcome back to Let's Talk Mental Health. I'm Brian Wall, your host with over 2 decades of experience across 4 countries in the areas of mental health and addiction, with hopes of promoting awareness for listeners that are interested in exploring the intersection of mental health and culture and how our backgrounds, experiences, and environments shape our well being. Tune in weekly to learn more about how these areas and more impact your life. The Let's Talk Mental Health podcast models to listeners what it looks like to prioritize your mental health, mental well-being, and take control of your life with practical tools, latest news, research, and insights that we hope make a real difference. For more information, be sure to follow us on all major social media platforms by searching 24/7 DCT and online at 247dct.org. This week's episode is yet another effort on our behalf to more closely track our tribe and bring awareness to issues like mental health, addiction, general wellness, and everything in between. Let's go ahead and get started by meeting this week's expert guest, Terrence Williams of Meta Wellness. Terrence Williams is the founder of Meta Wellness, a company that builds virtual reality simulations for mental health professionals, which I think is phenomenal. Can't wait to learn more about this. Terrence is also an active men's mental health advocate and speaks on the state of men's mental health, depression, and relationships. Welcome to the show, Terrence. How are you, brother?
I am great. Happy to be here. Super
Yeah,
excited.
man. Thanks for working with me today. The day's been kind of delayed. Him and I both have been busy a bit and getting started a little bit late today. But either way, we got a chance to catch up. So I want to know more about this stuff. We connected on LinkedIn, and you were sharing a little bit about it. And I would love to own like a virtual reality studio one day and do some of this stuff. But I want to know more about what it is. I don't really know much about it, so I want a chance for you to educate me as well as our listeners on what this is, because I do think it's the next wave of our industry. So tell me more about meta wellness and the concept of using virtual reality as a treatment modality.
Absolutely. So speaking on the studio, it's funny. When I first started learning how to build virtual reality simulations, one of the first things I built for people was actually a studio where some people had podcasts, another person had a radio station, all types of cool stuff. But
Very
yeah,
cool.
so when I first started learning, well, I first got into this, my friend put on a pair of Oculus goggles on me, and I was surrounded by this virtual environment, and I was just like, holy crap, I got to get involved in this somehow. So I took the time to really learn everything it was to learn about how to build these simulations, and I impacted and I actually input the rule of 100. And the rule of 100 is if you spend 100 hours in a year, which is
Yes.
18 minutes a day,
Hmm.
and no matter the discipline, it could be swimming, it could be running, jogging, whatever it is, speaking. If you spend 18 minutes a day, 100 hours in a year, that you will be better than 95% of the population in that discipline. So I impacted that. I really, really put that in there. I spent hours a day, every day for a whole year until I really mastered the art, because I don't come from a tech background. I come from a marketing business background,
Really?
and I've been really bad at math my entire life. So, but I really wanted to dive into this. So what I had to do, I just had to learn it. So YouTube, trial, error, etc. And I started building these simulations, and then these therapists would reach out and say, "Hey, I have this telehealth stuff. I do stuff on Zoom. I would like to be just in a virtual reality space where I'm one on one with the person. Can you do that?" I say, "Yeah, not only I can do that, I can put you on the snowy mountains of somewhere. I can put you on a nice beach somewhere. Like, what kind of stuff?" And then these therapists and these mental health professionals, these nonprofits, started coming with these amazing ideas. And from there, we started doing not just in-person type of meetings, but we also started doing exposure therapy type of stuff. So I built an elevator where somebody can go in, who's somebody who suffers from claustrophobia. He
No
goes into the
way.
elevator. Absolutely, goes into the elevator doors closed, they start shaking, rambling, and over time, he's being exposed to this over time, and it actually helped him conquer his fear of claustrophobia. So exposure therapy on that side is also being huge on mental health and VR as well.
Dude, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
cool.
don't have many fears. And the
Yeah,
ones I have are kind of silly, I think. Probably snakes or something. Most snakes are not poisonous. So it's like, let them
yeah,
bite you. It's not going to hurt you. I mean, it'll hurt you, but it's not going to kill you.
right,
So
right.
that kind of stuff, or spiders or something. It's like we're so much bigger than spiders. Like, come on, just step
Oh
on
no, I'm afraid of spiders. I don't do
Are you?
spiders. I don't do spiders.
But
Big spiders, big spiders though. Because
I had a,
spiders aren't even considered insects.
I
They're
didn't
like
know that.
they're considered a whole other. Yeah, they're their own thing.
Arachnids, is that what it is? Arachnids or something?
Right. I mean, when a bug can eat a bird, nah, you're too big for me. Nah, I'm good with that.
Dude, I don't know. Like I said, we met on LinkedIn, but I don't know if you know Blake Cohen with Next Level Recovery Associates. I think it's called him and Amanda Marino and Blake Cohen. He super cool dude. great mind. Love the guy. Love his posts. Just great information he's sharing out there, bringing awareness, etc. But he did this whole climbing thing, like virtual, not virtual reality, is a claustrophobia type thing. He was trying to overcome some claustrophobia. So
Right.
he went on this hike, and they put you in these crevices that literally you, like a human body barely fits, and like you have to
Right.
crawl through it on your back, and the rocks like right on, and you have to like put your head like this, and it's like really
Oh yeah,
really
so that's
tight.
the exposure side, right? Like really putting you in the heart of the thing that
Yes.
really you're battling and able to overcome it during it. And
Yeah.
that's a really cool thing about exposure therapy as well is it makes you in control of your fear because you know
Yes.
if the elevator doors are a little bit too much or too fast, so you can like really adjust it and get the person like really comfortable with it so they actually feel comfortable actually doing it in person.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think probably the claustrophobia piece would work for me. That tight, it's not, elevators don't bother me, but I mean like real tight like that, like he was
Yeah.
going through. I was looking at some of his pictures and getting like I felt beads of sweat. I was just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. So
Hilarious.
so you've shared some generalities as far as like, okay, exposure therapy in the elevator, but tell us a little more about what an actual VR session would look like. The details, like how does all that work? What do you do?
Right.
Where do you
So
meet? Like, do you go into a studio? Like, how does all this work?
it depends. So it depends on what they're looking for. So what they would first do is each of them will have their own VR headset. So if a
Mhm.
client is in Georgia and the therapist is in South Carolina, they would just both need the VR headsets, and then they would just click a link to put them into this VR space, whichever one that they're occupying,
Very
and they're
cool.
in there together. They feel like they're in there literally together. You see their digital avatar. You see their digital avatar. You can communicate hand gestures. You see, mouse moving, like even your eyebrows lifting, all that type of stuff as well too.
Yeah,
So it captures a more realistic feeling.
no kidding. And so there, does like for instance with the elevator situation, the client would walk on the elevator. Would the therapist or the person leading the session, would they wait on the other side of the elevator?
They could. So multiple people can occupy a space at the same time. The therapist, he or she can actually go in the elevator with the person, or they can be in there on their own time, and they can have access to it to do it on their own time as well. So if the client wants to just do their own personal thing with the elevator session, whether it's with the therapist or not, they can still do it on their own time as well.
Interesting. So that'd be kind of like homework stuff. I could assign, hey, I want you to try to get in the elevator 3 times this week
Exactly.
before we meet again next week.
Exactly. What feelings did
Very
you have
cool.
before you went in there? What feelings did you have
Yes.
afterwards? How long were you in there for? What feelings
No
did you have?
kidding.
Kind of stuff. Yeah. It's pretty
That's
interesting. And
fascinating.
that's just even the small stuff. So, VR and therapy has been going around for a little while. One of the most famous cases was this guy named Jimmy Castellanos. He was a veteran,
Mhm.
and but during his time with the army, he was stationed in Iraq, and he saw his best friend and his basically his platoon blow up in front of him. And he goes over and he sees, he goes over to the car and his best friend is paralyzed. Other friends on the back are dead, and other ones are injured. And he was traumatized for that. And he was traumatized for years. And he tried medicine, he tried therapy. And then one day, one of his mentors got him into VR, and they were doing a study with 10 people that also had PTSD, whether it's from war or whether it's from a car accident, some violent crime, because 1 out of 3 people that have been through a traumatic event actually suffers from PTSD. So there's
Mhm.
always different types, right? So what they did was he was selected and they actually put him back into a feeling like he was in Iraq. So when they put the headsets on, he hears the artillery shells. He sees the artillery shells going past his head. He looks up, there's a helicopter flying over. He sees people shooting. They hand him a prop M16 to use while he's in there. And over time, he was able to just be exposed to that. And after he said 6 weeks of doing the therapy, he completely had no more PTSD. He doesn't even remember the last time he had a dream, even
Wow.
about Iraq. So yeah, it's probably one of the pretty really cool stories. But I
Dude,
really
that's
enjoyed it.
powerful.
Yeah.
So when you're in there, does this look cartoony or does it look real life?
There's two sides to it,
I've never
right?
done
So
VR, so I have no clue.
yeah, so there are simulations that can look cartoony, but there are
Mhm.
simulations that look extremely, extremely real. The difference is the more cartoony it looks, there's more interactive things you can do in there. The more
Okay.
real it looks, the less interactive stuff. So you can be in a VR situation where you're at a beach, but you can't do anything at the beach. You're just sitting there. at the beach,
Hmm.
but you see everything and it looks like you're on a real beach. But the
Okay.
ones that are the more cartoony are the ones where you could play volleyball at the beach, actually go into the water with the beach, look at fish that are going around, go and talking to
Right.
people, etc. So there's two different sides of how real it is, because the technology and the realism are still, it's going to get to the point where it
Yeah.
looks like you're at the beach and still be able to do volleyball and stuff. But right now it's
Right.
a little bit separate.
It's lagging right now. But the
Right.
the real life sitting on the beach, real beach scene, that's great for meditation type stuff.
Absolutely. And a lot of people do it for meditation. There's a lot of
Yeah.
VR apps, et cetera, that do a lot of VR therapy. There was actually one study that put burn victims into a snowy platform where it was snowy mountains. You could see snowflakes falling down, et cetera. And it looked actually like a real simulation. And what they found was after 6 weeks of treatment with that as well, the burn victims had 75% less pain through every burn victim. Yeah. So just even to think on the pain side, how it could affect you. Because being in somewhere that makes you really feel calm, you gotta think that that atmosphere, that healing ointment over time
Yeah.
is gonna make you feel better. So they found that
Dude,
as well.
where the mind goes, the body follows. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
It's that simply complex, is what it is, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like, if we
absolutely.
can get to that place, that there's you're sharing tons of research that reflects that. That's amazing. And the implications of doing this on like a group level, that sounds like a
Absolutely.
really cool. Yeah, no, doing like a group meditation. Everybody's on the beach. Everybody's logging in. That'd be
Oh yeah.
super cool.
I built a group therapy session the other day, and I put everybody where you can actually see this humongous waterfall, and you can actually get teleported on top of the waterfall, and you can like have a fire where there's like marshmallows you can roast and all types of stuff. Absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, so like a lot of people that do like AA, if you think of it like that, or people that have been through traumatic stuff. I had a therapist that works for a nonprofit the other day saying that she works with teenagers that have been through just victims of gun violence, and she just wants
Yeah,
to know if there's a community center where they could talk. And I said, absolutely. Not only they can talk, but they can play basketball while they're in there. They can play football. They can play whack-a-mole. They can do like laser tag. Like, what else do you want in there? So the
dude,
ideas
that's
that people are coming
crazy.
with are pretty amazing.
That is crazy. That's AI, the beginning of AI, right? So AI is probably going to contribute to a lot of this and advance it even further to play a role in the healing process for folks. And so
Yeah.
we have, every week we try to take questions from listeners that they send in, and I usually do that at the end of our time together. But this relates a bit to the next question. And the question this week was like, how, generally, how do we know when treatment is working? And so my question for you, you've shared a couple of things about the effectiveness of the treatment, but along those same lines, how effective is virtual reality as a treatment?
So we're seeing that in studies that it's typically on the positive side. Most of the studies that would have come out and are still developing aren't showing any negatives unless you're like
Very new.
an infant trying to use VR. If you're too
Hmm.
young to use it, then like that, it can have traumatic effects. But on the mental health side, we're seeing like studies where it comes to people that especially when they focus on phobias and traumas and people that deal with phobias and traumas,
Hmm.
they're seeing a 75% increase when it just comes
Wow.
to just their overall mental health at the end of like a 6 week period. A lot of
Hmm.
the trials that they do is on a 6 week or 3 month. And they're always seeing that at least from between the 70% and the 80 percentiles is usually where the percentages of the effectiveness, if it comes from
Okay.
phobias or traumas and that type of stuff. PTSD will usually stays around like the 75%. The
Hmm.
traumas and phobias usually see like around an 80%, usually like an 80% increase, or not
Hmm.
increase, but 80% advantage when it comes to just the effectiveness of it.
Okay. Wow. Those are high numbers.
Yeah,
That's
they're
encouraging.
they're they're pretty good. They're pretty good. But like I said before, I think what's going to happen is we're going to need, just as it keeps going, just more and more of these stories and these situations
Yeah.
and these people putting get the real numbers out there more and more. But right now they're all looking good, and especially for the since past like 20 years, and
Yeah.
they've been actually focusing on the numbers. Everything has been up to the positive.
Yeah, yeah, it's similar to a lot of the new stuff that's coming out. EMDR was that like that back in the day. It was super new and had to bring awareness and educate folks on that. And now ketamine, psilocybin, and a lot of these other alternative routes for treatment. A lot of it's getting folks away from, oh, you're gonna trip on magic mushrooms. Like, well, we're talking about
Yeah,
therapeutic doses. We're talking about micro dosing. We're doing it on therapeutic
right.
ranges that are actually effective. And so educating folks is probably a big piece of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's still not ubiquitous, especially with the VR headsets. Like we have the Oculus goggles. Apple's coming out with their headsets, but it's
Mhm.
still not as ubiquitous as seeing somebody having like a laptop in your home or a cell phone. Once it gets to that point, a lot of people will be using VR a lot for different reasons. Because honestly, like I watch basketball, and if I watch it in VR, they put you at it looks exactly this is the real game, the real image of the game is actually like it's really looking, but it looks like you're actually sitting courtside. Like it feels like you're sitting courtside at the game, and I like that view a lot better than the TV. I'll be honest
Okay.
with you.
All right. Time out. Time out, folks. Listeners, you can tune out. This ain't about you right now. I'm blown away. Okay. Listen to me. My wife and I are huge NBA fans, so we're all about some playoffs right now. So, like, you can put on these goggles and like be present at a live game that's happening right now.
Yeah, it's a live game. Like exactly when they call timeout, it's everything, and it looks it's not cartoony or not using anything of that. It's actually the real footage, but it looks like you're sitting courtside. They had a commercial on it, I think for the Super Bowl. No, before the Super Bowl. No, All Star. It was for All Star weekend,
Yeah.
and they had it. They had like a quick commercial. Somebody put the head. They were in their living room. They put the headsets on, and then they sat like courtside. I think like when Jason Tatum was like right beside him, and they just like, but you can't. Of course, Jason Tatum doesn't see you, but you actually see him because you have the
Right.
headsets on, and he just goes in the game. He's just playing.
Dude, and so this is okay, so this is real time, real game. You have to use Oculus. Is that what you have
You
to
have to
get
use the
to?
Oculus because ESPN has their own platform in the Oculus goggles. So they just stream the game from there.
Dude, you're blowing my mind right now. My
Yeah.
wife would be next level. She's all about some Warriors right now, and we're really upset
Oh
about the
yeah,
Kings.
yeah.
They're stepping it up.
I
They're
guarantee
pushing
this.
us in
Y'all
the
put them on,
corner.
y'all never watch the game. Like y'all would never. There's no even reason to go to a game anymore. Like you literally just put them on. You feel like you're sitting courtside. Like it's like the best seats in the house. But
That's amazing. I'm gonna look into this. Now, Oculus headsets. How much are those? They're kind of pricey, aren't they?
they start from around $299 and go all the way to like $499. You can also get them refurbished. I work with a lot of people that rent them out for their clients per day.
Mhm.
So they have companies that rent out for like a headset for $7 a day. So I have therapists that do that as well.
And the 299 works with the courtside. That whole you can get
Yeah,
a
that's what I have.
299 and it works. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I have.
What is the 499? What's the difference?
More gigabytes, more storage.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. That was your commercial break. That was amazing. I'm gonna look into this. I'm all about it right now. I got to do something before the Warriors get kicked out of the playoffs because the Kings are killing us right now.
They're gonna come back. They're gonna come back.
Yeah, right. I hope so, man. I'm all about it. So you mentioned with some of the examples you shared that folks within 6 weeks were showing drastic improvement, but on the average, how quickly does a client really experience results?
But well, we start seeing around 3 weeks when we start seeing actual results, right? And then 6 weeks is usually when they're like cured from whatever they're trying to do. 3 months is like the latest time that they've been seeing people cured from it. At the
Wow.
latest, what they've seen, even after 3 months, if the person isn't like absolutely cured, they are significantly a lot better than when
Better.
they were when they first started. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
They haven't had any or really any like failed treatments of what they've been trying to do so far. So, and like even
Interesting.
on my side, the client side, I've only heard positive things on my end as well.
Hmm. This is exactly what I've always said. I've always been the guy that thought we should put cameras in psych units and have reality shows. It'd be a great way to raise awareness. And if I could get into a reality show of some sort where I could actually get into the house of folks and place cameras in there and actually see how the child interacts with the adults, the parents, etc., and use that information to do real work in real time on the therapy side. I thought that would be much
Aren't
more
they having a
effective.
show? Aren't they
What's
having a
that?
show like that where they're not a show where they're putting the cameras in, but they're having a show to judge the best parenting style?
Yes, the it's like a marriage swap or it's some kind of something swap, I think it's called.
They do have like the marriage swap, but this one was supposed to be like a competition to see which parenting style was the best.
Yes. Although we got to be careful with reality shows because we know they're all scripted and they're not reality at all. But
That's true.
but
That's
I'm talking about like
I don't
real
like to live in
stuff.
that fantasy. I like to believe that it's real. So I'm just gonna
Yeah, I know you do. Okay, fair enough. I'm not gonna burst your bubble. But
right.
VR really gets you there. It gives you an opportunity to live that real time experience and use that information, use that
Oh yeah,
knowledge of
I know
what
a couple.
happened to
Yeah,
kind of mold the outcome. That's very cool. Very
well,
cool.
just even an interaction. Like I know people that met in the metaverse, met in VR, and actually are married till this day. So they met each other in their digital format built a relationship, met outside in the real world, and are now married today and live together. So, yeah.
Okay, that's next level. I don't even understand. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, and this is kind of the direction we're going. So that's why I wanted to do this podcast with you, because this is the next level. Look, if you see my my nail polish, sorry, if you guys see this, I'm just gonna kind of expose myself.
Oh,
I
I
got
see
two
it.
girls. I love them. I adore them. My 5-year-old wanted to paint my nails the other day, so I let her do it. But anyway,
Nice.
like, is his fingers bleeding? No, they're not bleeding. I'm fine. Um, I just love my girls. So with side effects, any side effects, like what's up with that? Anything we need to worry about?
So when it comes to the side effects, the only thing that we've been seeing on the side that is negative has usually been with children under the age of 6 that use it.
Okay.
So besides that, we haven't seen a lot of any cases where anybody has to be in like real danger.
Okay.
The cool thing is with these headsets, they're just it's not like you're trapped. You can always just take them off. You know what I mean?
Right. And you're
So
there monitoring as well, to a certain extent, right? So if you have to pull them off or something, I mean, if there was some kind of,
oh
I
no,
don't know, how
I'm
does
not
that work?
monitoring at all. Like the people that the therapists and the nonprofits, they buy the platforms from me, and I just give it to them. So I create
Hmm.
their vision, and then they deal with all the access. Now, if they need any like tech support or if they need anything changed, then like I'll step in. But I don't
Okay.
monitor any of the sessions. I'm not there at all. I don't hear from them unless they need me.
So
Then
that's
no.
up to them to supervise. Whatever they do with it's their business. You just sell the platform.
Right. It's like
Okay.
because if I build them a house, then I give them the house. You know, it's up to you to do what you want with the house, like monitor the
Right.
house or have people over. But like I can set it up to where it can only be 2 people in. It can only be people that have access or have the passcode or have the key, whatever you want to to
I
access.
got
So I
you.
can do that as well too.
Okay. So we were talking a little bit about ketamine and psilocybin before. I mentioned it. We didn't even talk about it, but I mentioned it. And so I know that those are specific to chronic depression, PTSD, addiction. Are there any diagnoses that you guys are finding or the VR approach is very effective with? Is that a thing?
So mostly, well, phobias for one
Okay.
is the big thing. PTSD is another, but they're also doing stuff with people that have other stuff like schizophrenia, anorexia. I had a lady that reached out to me and said her son was anorexic, and she wanted me to remodel her kitchen for her and put food in there. That way, when he goes into the kitchen, he can actually learn how to pick up the food and eat it again. So I recreated her kitchen, created a Big Mac because everybody loves a Big Mac. Put a Big
Amen.
Mac in there, and as he picks up the Big Mac in the virtual reality space, as he goes to bite it, it'll start disappearing, and it just retaught him how to be able to, you know, eat the food and be able to maintain that feeling of eating and stuff. So, and he
Yeah,
reached out a couple weeks ago and saying that he's doing way better. So that's pretty cool as
that's
well. So we're
amazing.
seeing, yeah, it's just so like all like any type of phobia as well. Like when it comes to heights, people are afraid of heights. They put them in a plane simulation to where they feel
Yeah.
like they're on a plane. They see it, it's seasickness. Put them on a boat. We do stuff with people that have like they have a fear of spiders as well because you can get
Hmm.
real creative with spiders in the metaverse.
Yeah, yeah.
I can create 1,000 spiders and put them in a situation for you. Even with needles, like we have a fear of needles as well. Being able to stick themselves in that virtual space and not feel the pain is like getting them over the pain of actually having the needle in them. So
Yeah.
all these like really creative things that we've been seeing, but yeah, the main things that people use it for is actually the exposure side. So we see way more effects on the exposure side, even with depression as well. Depression is a big one because again, you have a lot of those simulations that are very peaceful, very, very calming and soothing, being on
Hmm.
that beach, being in Costa Rica, seeing mountains and trees and all that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
all those aspects get really a lot of the treatment or a lot of the attention and the
Hmm.
exposure therapy side.
Love that. I bet it would be very effective with addiction as well, because there's a lot of exposure piece, an exposure side of that as well, because change your people, places, and things, right? So,
Absolutely.
uh, it's creating simulations where folks are put in situations where they have to say no, or they have to walk away, or
Absolutely.
that'd be
Yeah,
pretty cool.
absolutely, and that's the really cool thing. I tell people that have ideas. I'm like, the idea is whatever your idea is, we can really recreate it. We can
Yeah.
really, really do it. So I have people that actually they do some things with addiction as well for exposure, but I'm not too sure. The stuff that I've done with addiction is more so the group therapy, like Alcohol Anonymous, having
Hmm.
that safe haven of people. And what we're
Right. The
finding is a lot of
presence.
people. Yeah, and we're finding because you're talking to people in their digital state that people are a lot more comfortable speaking to somebody about their problems, talking to a
Yeah.
digital avatar rather than face to face.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. That's a big thing. A lot of folks are, telehealth and just like, where is this going? And is this better? Is it not? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? That's something, big topic of conversation right now. I'm finding it more of a positive than anything, to be honest with you. With 24/7 DCT, we're doing some great stuff and providing a lot of opportunities for folks to get the help that they need that they otherwise would not be able to tap into, access, or even desire to. And so we're creating another platform to do that. And I think that's super powerful. So with your VR sessions, I know you sell the platforms, but as it relates to like maybe a provider, what is the typical length and cost of like a session that you're seeing for providers that offer this?
So the ones that are using that are renting from my platforms, they usually so my rent starts around like $40 a month to rent one platform out. So a lot of people are just doing an upcharge or just doing like $70 a session for people that want to do stuff like that. So they're just incorporating the costs and stuff like that. Now a lot of people that are using have bulk numbers that are using a lot of different VR sets, and they have to use my manufacturer that rents out called Rover. Which are like $100. So they start making their stuff a lot more like pricier. But what they're offering, their platforms, they're customized, so they offer a lot more things. So they put that into their cost. And what I mean is, so I built a rage room before for a client. You've been to a rage room before?
No, not familiar with.
Rage rooms are a place that you can go and you pay money, and you can get a bat and you can beat up a car.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, some people do the breaking the plates and stuff like that. I know what you're talking about.
So I built one for a therapist that deals with clients that suffer from anger management. So we did that for them, and she does an upcharge. Like if people want to go in there, it's like a group session, and she'll charge like $100 for a group of 5 or 6 people to go in there and be a part of that session. Yeah.
Wow.
And then like in there, you can have bats, hammers. You can throw paint. You can break TVs. You can break registers, toilets. There's so many things in there you can break.
Dude, today I shared a little bit about how my day's been going before we started up today. So I'd like you to send that over to me right now, because I'm about ready to break some stuff. You know where I'm at, brother.
Yeah, I know you're at.
Man, this is super cool, Terrence. So I truly do believe this is the next step, the next platform, the next thing in our industry. And I think it's something that could be very effective in helping folks heal from a ton of different diagnoses, probably a number that we're not even sure it's effective with yet, but it's going to come as the technology continues to advance. So how can listeners reach you, find more information about Meta Wellness or a local VR studio? What do they do? How do they make that happen?
Right. So the best thing would be to email me at themetaworldcreator@yahoo.com. You can visit my website at www.metawellness.space. Follow me on Instagram at Terrence Williams VR, and that is Terrence with an A. We were talking about that before.
Right.
But and that'll be the best way.
Awesome. Perfect. And we're going to provide that. I'm going to make sure that information gets provided by our marketing team as well on the all the edits and the clips and stuff they do, so that folks will be able to reach you. And I appreciate your time today, brother. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you're interested in engaging with a therapist, you can find more information online at 247dct.org. So don't hesitate to reach out, folks. We'd love to join you today in sorting out all that stuff that feels hopeless and get you back on track. That brings us to Real Talk with Brian, and this week's encouragement is brought to you by Warren Buffett, who said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." My genuine heart is to serve others, and I love the fact that I can do that today with one person and affect the multitude tomorrow through that one act of kindness. It's insane how impactful it is to think in terms of gratitude with a focus of simply planting seeds, knowing that one day they will grow into so much more for so many more to enjoy and pay forward. That is human kindness and the only hope we have of healing this broken world, folks. I challenge each of you today to just do that, by pay forward that kindness. Paying for the car in front of you in the drive-through, pay for a coffee for a stranger, hold the door open. Gosh, no one does that anymore, for somebody, or intentionally smile at a stranger just to spread light and love. That's what we should be about. That's what we're about at 24/7 DCT, and we'd love to journey with you. Be sure to follow my weekly trilogy series on LinkedIn at #BeRealWithBrian to gain insight in the areas of mental health, addiction, and general wellness. I appreciate everyone that joined us today. Thanks for taking time out. If you're interested in gaining practical advice and expert insights for living your best life, join us weekly on Let's Talk Mental Health for support and to connect with others to genuinely understand where you're at. Again, you can check us out on all major social media platforms by checking or searching 24/7 DCT and online at 247dct.org. We look forward to spending time with you next week as we welcome yet another guest who's committed to getting you feeling better.